Hello there, Des Kelly here from GMIT Letterfrack, and welcome along to another of our DCG SolidWorks tutorials. Before we begin, if you'd like to find out more information about the degree programs we offer in furniture design, wood technology or teacher education, then please see our Facebook or Twitter pages. So I've opened up a new part and we're going to draw the lid in this part. So to do so, we'll draw a circle. Dimension that circle to be 150 in diameter, and we'll extrude that to a height of 35, but with a taper or a draft of 2 degrees. So this is the blank for our lid. We want to use a copy of our existing torch and thread to cut the thread in this lid. So to do that, we'll insert the torch with its thread. So go to Insert, Part, and select the torch that you want to bring in. So if you're very careful, it will snap into position, but you do have to be very lucky for it to snap into position. So I tend to just leave it one side and automatically or carefully put it into position. You will notice that all the bodies come in, including the 2 bodies that we used a while ago, but that's not going to be a problem. So we essentially have to mate these 2 together, so let's do that. And to do that, we will go Insert, Features, Move Copy. So first of all, the body to move will be the lid, and the mate settings. By clicking this box, it allows us to apply the mate settings. By the way, if you happen to see this menu box, this allows you to move and drag the lid using the XYZ coordinates, but press constraints to go back and apply a traditional mate. So what we can do now is select this face and that face, and they should mate together, which they have done. Now we need to go to the process again. Insert, Features, Move Copy, and now I want to get this body moved, and I will mate the edge of this with the edge of that, and now the torch and the lid have been stuck together. But bear in mind, this is not an assembly, this is the lid, this is the part called the lid, so I want to cut these solids out of it. So to do so, Insert, Features, Combine. I'll make sure it's on Subtract. The main body is going to be the lid, and the bodies to be subtracted will be the main torch. I can't forget these 2 other bodies as well, and there's the lens inside that I need to remove as well. I can't actually click it here, so from the drop down menu I can select the lens within the body. And now if I approve that, I should have the thread, the functioning thread, cut from the lid. So what I'm going to do is create a sketch on this surface of a circle, and I'm going to extrude cut that all the way through. And now while I'm at it, I'm going to make a little recess or a rebate for the piece of glass. So to do that, I will go Sketch, Circle, select this internal plane. That didn't select correctly, so I'll try that again. I'll select the plane first this time, draw a circle on that plane, and let's make it a nice even measurement. Let's make it diameter 130. In fact, let's make it diameter 140. See how it looks? 140 is a little steep. Let's split the difference. Let's make it diameter 135. And we will extrude cut that to take the piece of glass. And let's say the glass is going to be 3 mil thick. There is a little rebate to take the glass. And while we're at it, let's draw in the piece of glass. So Sketch, Circle, on the same plane. Let's draw the piece of glass there, and this time we will extrude it the same distance, but if we want this to be glass, we will not merge the result, and in a few moments time we can make this body glass. So let's put a chamfer on this line here. So we'll click chamfer and we'll do a distance chamfer, and let's try a 6 and a 3 and see how that works. Not bad at all. And let's just get a little bit of detail up here. So on the front plane, I beg your pardon, it's actually going to be the, let's see where we're at, the right plane. Now, no matter, I just notice here that the right plane is shifted. This happens sometimes when you move bodies around, because I moved the lid from the right plane. So I'm going to need a plane through the center of this. So first of all, I'll insert an axis. And now I'll do reference geometry, plane. I'll use the right plane as one reference and the axis as another reference. And I'll just change the angle to 0. And that should put a plane, and it does, perfectly through the center. I essentially made my right plane again. So on that, I'll create a sketch. It's upside down, but I'll draw it up here. And that sketch is going to look something like this. It's going to maybe start in here, come up at a slight angle, come straight across, and come down. Now, I'm not going to overthink it, and I'm not even going to dimension it in this case. I'm just going to make this horizontal. It's already horizontal, so I don't need to do that. In fact, it's not horizontal, it's just told, it inferred a constraint. Those two lines are parallel, so I can delete that and make that horizontal. So there's a little sketch. I want to make a little grip on the end of the torch. One possible way to do that would be to extrude it, but unfortunately if I extrude it, even mid-plane, you can see it will break contact and leave a little gap there. So rather than extruding it, I'm going to revolve it. I'm not going to revolve it about the bottom, I'm going to revolve it about this axis. Well, first of all, I'll select that profile, and the axis is going to be this axis, and you can see it's doing a full revolution there. I do not want that. I want it to be mid-plane, and let's just say 12 degrees, and that looks okay. So that's a little notch on the top of the torch. Now you could add fillets as you see fit all the way around there, but we'll leave that till later. So we will now do a circular pattern around this axis, and we'll select this feature, and we'll see how many looks okay. I'm guessing about 8 or 9. In fact, 12 look okay, so let's put in 12 of them. So that is essentially the lid. I mean, there's not much more complexity you can add to it. While we're here, we'll open up appearances, put on high gloss black plastic and drop it on to that body. We will put on glass or perspex if you want to that body, and there is the lid completed. So we'll save that. So now I'm going to attempt to put a organic looking cord onto the end of the torch. So to begin with, we'll create a little hole on the right plane, and let's say the cord is going to be 4 mm in diameter. So we'll place a 4 mm diameter hole there somewhere, convenient, and we'll just apply an extruded cut mid-plane and make sure it just makes its way out. So our cord is going to fit through that hole, and let's just put a 1 mm fillet on either side. It makes it look just that little bit neater. Okay, so this is obviously going to be a very good start point. So let's put a reference geometry, an axis into that hole, and let's put a plane at a slight angle, let's say 30 degrees. So reference geometry, plane. I've already selected the axis, and let's select, say, the top plane to be my other reference. and we'll select this angle, and let's try 150 to see how it looks. And it looks pretty good. So 150 puts in a plane at 30 degrees. So the first bit of the chord is going to be draped on this plane. So to do that, I'll create a sketch on that plane and I'll look 90 degrees to it. Sometimes that happens, so just look at 90 degrees to it again. And I'm going to do the following. I'm going to draw a line halfway through the hole, just creeping out there. And then I'll switch over to a spline, and I'll try to get the spline coming around in almost like this heart shape. I'll select that. And I'll put a center line down the middle. Now I'm not wasting time dimensioning this. I should dimension it, but it would really lengthen the videos. So just for instance, to dimension this spine or to fix the spine, I can just click it and press fix, but I'm not done editing it yet. So I just want to mirror that line and that spline about that line. And in fact, I'll tweak it before I mirror it. What I want to do is make sure by holding control that this line and this curve are a tangent, so that will get a nice smooth transition for my spline. And also down at the very bottom here, I'm going to click the spline, and I should get this little diamond which will allow me to set the angle. In this case, it's going to be 90 or minus 90. To make sure it's vertical. So now I can do my mirror. I can mirror this little bit of a line and that spline about this center line that I added, and press OK on that. So that's going to be the path for the bit of the chord, and you can edit it as you see fit, but I'm hoping that will look okay. So let's approve that. So to draw a circle, I'm going to hide this plane. In fact, I won't for a moment. To draw a circle, I need a plane at 90 degrees to this new plane I've created. So in fact, I'm going to open up that sketch again and just put a center line between there and there, which will give me an axis of revolution for my new plane. So features, reference geometry, plane, select that newly created center line and select this plane, and make sure they go on at 90 degrees. So let's just put on an angle of 90 degrees. Sorry, I messed up there. I'll try that again. Reference geometry, plane, axis, plane, and 90. There we go. So just for clarity, I'm going to hide this other plane, and on this plane, just so we don't make the mistake, I'm going to draw a circle, center it there, and we'll dimension that to be diameter 4. So we can sweep that. So let's go features, swept boss base, there's the profile, there's the path, and let's just go into options and don't merge the result. Right, so that's the first bit. Let's just tidy up the sketch a bit. So we'll hide the axis and we'll hide that plane. And now, in fact, I'll bring plane 9 back into visibility. If I can do it there. I can't do it there. There we go. So on this plane, I'm going to continue that little chord. So let's make a little connector here. And what I mean by that is this. On plane 9, I'm going to zoom in. And I'm going to start at the center and go up a little bit, come across, and just make, again, almost like a little heart shape. And I'll join those with a center line just because I want to mirror them. You can mess around with dimensions yourself. Now I'll mirror those few entities about this line. Press OK. And I will do a mid-plane extrusion. So features, extrude a boss base, mid-plane, and let's bring that to a thickness of 6. So now we almost have a little a draw chord there. And I suppose I probably should have not merged that result. So let's not merge that result. And we can just put a tiny fillet on that. Let's see how a 1mm fillet looks. It's a little strong. Let's change it to 0.5. And let's change the back to 0.5 as well. And we'll just take this corner and that corner off it as well. And now we're getting there. So I'm going to hide this plane. But on this tail end, I'm going to put two circles where I want the, in fact, I'll select the plane first. I'm going to put two circles where I want the chords to enter and exit. So I'm just going to have to be careful and put one circle here. We'll dimension it to be 4. And we just have to be careful to tell this point and that point to be horizontal. And let's just smart dimension that from the edge at 2.5. Now I'm going to close that sketch because I want that sketch to be my profile when I sweep it in a minute. And I'm going to create a second sketch on the same surface, the same size and the same offset. That was 2.5 actually. There we go. So now, to get a 3D spline, what I'm going to do is this. On the right plane, I'm going to create a center line for my axis of revolution. And from that, I'm going to make a spline. Now you can experiment around with this spline and you'll get varied results. But if I revolve that around, there is a separate body, a separate solid along which I can drape my chord. So I'm going to go to Sketch, select a 3D sketch this time, and a spline on surface. I'm not going to attempt to start it here. I'm going to just start it up here. And make your way around. It will drape that chord over that surface for you. We'll select that. Now we can drag the points around to make sure we're happy with them. I'll undo that. I drag the wrong point around, so we'll drag the point up like that. And it's quite demanding on the computer, so my computer is freezing there. So we'll just try that one more time. Okay, I'll drag that around to the top. Okay, it's not ideal, so I'm just going to do a bit of massaging on that. In fact, I'm just going to delete that and pop them in again. Be good practice. So spline on surface, and we'll try again. Pick a point there. And that looks much better this time. Now, to finish off the spline from there to there, I'm not going to use a spline on surface. I'm still in a 3D sketch, so I'm going to call up a regular spline. And from the center of that circle to the spline there will be one spline. And I can click and drag that. And I can set this line and that line to be a tangent. And finally, I can add one more spline from the center of this circle to the end of that spline. And let's just rotate that around a little first and hold Control and select this spline and that spline and tell those to be a tangent. Now that's why I needed the two circles there. The first circle is going to be my profile, the second circle or a point indeed, just helped me finish this sweep where I needed it to be. So let's hide that body, and now if we do a features and a swept boss base, we can sweep that circle along that profile, and we will not merge the result. And now we have not a bad looking chord at all. And of course, if you go in and edit them and spend a bit more time getting these splines a little bit better, you'll get a much more natural and organic. So in this final video for now, I am going to do a few bits and pieces. First of all, I'll split the torch, and let's just bring in the battery. Now I have a battery drawn already. It's not too difficult to draw, so I'll just go to Insert, Part, and I'll select Battery. So I'm going to let the battery come in anywhere. The battery is drawn of a few different bodies. I've got the springs, the rivets, and then the battery itself. So it's pretty square, pretty blocky. The hardest part are the spirals, and they're just sweeps. So to put that into position, I want to go Insert, Features, Move Copy. But I want to move all four bodies. So the rivets, the springs, the rivets, and the springs. And the mate settings will be, I want it to mate with the bottom of the torch, but I want a distance mate of 10 mil to kick in. So the torch goes over there, or the battery goes over there. Now I need to do another one. Insert, Features, Move Copy. Again, I'll select the battery, the spring, the rivet, and the mate will be between this side surface and that plane. Now I know that the battery is 66 wide, so I will put a distance mate of 33, and if needs be I will flip the dimension. Just give it a moment to think about it, and now the battery is perfectly centered in that direction. And finally, Insert, Features, Move, Copy, select the battery, the rivet, and the spring. And we're going to mate, this time, the top surface of the battery and the top plane, and again we'll put a 33 mil offset. Hopefully the battery will be centered in the torch now. Just for some reason it didn't pick up everything here, so I'm going to start that again. Let's see what happened there. We'll go to Insert, Features, Move Copy. I don't think I was careful enough the last time when picking the bodies. No, that should be that. And the mate settings will be the top surface and the top plane, a distance of 33, and flip the dimension. And for some reason it just brought the spring, so let's approve it. Okay, it just didn't preview, so it did actually bring the entire battery. So the battery is located in the center, which is very useful if you want to put a bit of circuitry between here and there. Now in order to cut that shape out, I'm going to go Insert, Features, Combine, do a subtract, and the main body will be the torch, and the bodies to combine will be the battery, the springs, and the two little rivets. They all need to go. And if we press OK on that, take a moment, the exact shape of the battery is cut out. Now we may need to trim up this little piece later to make sure the battery can actually slot in, but I'm going to move on for now. So before I add a decal, let's just quickly add some color. So I'm going to put high gloss red plastic onto the body. I'm going to put, let's say, a low gloss dark grey or a black plastic onto this thicken. I also need to put that onto the fillet feature. I need to put it onto this thicken. A slight mistake there, I put grey on as opposed to black, so I'll pop that back over it. I also need to put black on there, and I'll put black onto this little body there and onto its fillets. And just for the cord, I'll go down and find fabric. You can experiment yourself, but there's a cloth fabric that looks okay on the sweep, that looks okay in the render, and we'll put the cloth fabric on there. And finally, just for the lens, we can put on gloss, and we can put on mirror. See how you get on with mirror. If mirror doesn't look well, polished titanium usually looks pretty good. So finally, to put on a decal, we can first of all just go to PowerPoint, which is a very good place to edit decals. Both these decals look good. This GMIT decal, if I right click and format the background of the PowerPoint slide, I can see that it actually has a white background. So to clip out the white background, double click it, go to color, set transparent color, and then click any of the white area. So to save this, right click and close this first, right click, save as picture, and just call it logo. And I'll save it to my desktop and to this file so I can get it. So it's called logo. Now interestingly enough, this is just a text box within one of the Office programs. You can right click and save as picture, and I'm going to call this text box image. I'll save that to the same location. And that allows me to write and change any font and make that into a decal. So the use of that is as follows: render tools, edit decal, browse, and I'll go to where I saved it. So the it's in here. So the My Torch decal will allow me, if I click this surface, to simulate. Now, by the way, the logo will come in with this black appearance, this black background, unless you select Use Decal Image Alpha Channel. And now you can see that's a good way to simulate putting your own handwriting or putting text onto a torch. So I leave that there. And if I want to put the logo on here, edit decal, browse, go to that folder and hit logo. And then click the surface you want to put the logo onto. Now this logo comes in with a white background, which leads me to believe I selected the incorrect one. So I'll go edit decal, browse, go back to my folder, and yes, I mustn't have saved it correctly. So I'll just quickly go back in there and save that correctly. Right click, save as picture, and of course I need to change this to a PNG file rather than a JPEG. So the PNG file, I'll call this logo PNG, and now we'll try again. So browse and find my file, and logo PNG, click the surface. Now it comes in with a black background, so we'll hit Use Decal Image again, and we can now rotate that, and we can move it a little. Let's rotate it, make it a bit bigger, and now that will come out quite nice in the rendering. So the last thing I'm going to do on this torch is just put in a little button. So I should really have done this earlier, but it escaped me. So let's just put that plane up there, and we'll create a sketch on that plane, and the sketch is going to be an ellipse, and we will extrude cut that down rather than cutting it down all the way, let's offset it from surface just by 1.5 mils, and we'll select this surface, and I just need to flip the side to cut because it's cutting above the surface, so reverse offset. Now it will cut down into the surface, and there you have the little notch. So to add the button, one good way to do that is to go to Insert, Features, Dome, select the surface. Takes a little bit of time for this to work. I don't think the 10mm dome will work, so let's go to 2mm dome, and now we have a little button. Let's go to 3mm dome. Yeah, it looks good. And finally, let's just put a bit of rubber, matte black rubber, onto that feature. So there we have it. So you bring that into the assembly, stick on the lid and render it, and you've got a very nice torch with a lot of features to play with. Okay, so when you do render it, it will look like this. So there's absolutely nothing different in this torch. That's exactly what we've done when we've